Today, I'm talking with Lavonda Robertson, and we're going to speak about some issues that some of you may find uncomfortable, but it needs to be said. Lavonda,
Hey, hello.
tell me about yourself.
Well, of course, my name is Lavonda Robertson. I'm 41. I'm from Walker County, Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a mother of 3 kids.
Mm-hmm.
Have a son that passed away. I have 2 grandkids,
Mm-hmm.
precious. On the October 25th, I will have 3 years clean off heroin and all other substances, but heroin was my go-to thing. That was
Mm-hmm.
at the time, that was my favorite thing to do.
Right. So, what started you down this road of addiction?
I've always struggled with self-image,
Mm-hmm.
and there was just always something about myself that I just didn't like. Like everybody be like, "Oh, you're so beautiful," but when I looked in the mirror, I didn't see what other people saw.
Right.
And I remember I used to participate in beauty pageants a lot. If I felt like if I didn't win, it was because I was ugly, and no one ever told me. Someone else may not think you're as beautiful as someone else.
Right.
So that's where my self-image started, and I would make myself throw up. I wouldn't eat, and then for me, I think that kind of like got the ball rolling for my
Mm-hmm.
my mental illness per se. I always want. I never want. I just didn't like to act right for some reason.
Right.
To me, that just wasn't my personality.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to have fun.
Right.
So my views on having fun was skipping school, smoking pot, drinking. Whatever you weren't supposed to do.
That's what you
That's
wanted to do.
I was doing right the opposite.
Right.
So I remember I had a procedure done on my foot, and the doctor had wrote me, I think, lower tabs. Mm-hmm. Well, when I took those, I felt like I had arrived. Mm-hmm. I mean, I loved everybody. Just everything was great. Mm-hmm. Nobody ever, like growing up, nobody ever talked about heroin addiction because at that time, I think the worst thing you could have done was, I guess, smoke pot or whatever, or drink.
Right.
So, of course I'd done that. I managed to fit in with any kind of crowd.
Mm-hmm.
If the good kids, I could do that. The bad ones, I could really do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just started dabbling into like different things. Mm-hmm. Opioids was the thing because I could always say, the doctor gave that to me, so it's okay.
Right.
So nobody can look down on me. And I never really knew what addiction was.
Right.
Didn't really know what eating disorders was because nobody ever talked about it.
Right.
Nobody, that's just not something that was talked about. But I remember getting in trouble when I was 18. That was my first little thing with the police. And, I didn't thought my life was over. I got a drug paraphernalia charge. I didn't thought they was going to send me to prison.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't. But when I got to jail and I seen people that I knew, it wasn't as bad as everybody makes it out to be. Like TV, it's not that bad. So then, like I said, I had this eating disorder, and then I had opioid problems. And in order for my family not to be on my butt about not eating, I tried meth. Well, I could eat, but I could do meth, and they would never know because my family don't know anything about meth. You know, once again, it's not talked about. So I got started on that. I didn't discriminate on which drug. You know, I preferred opioids or heroin or Dilaudid, whatever. That's what I preferred. But if you had something else, I wasn't going to turn my nose to it. So that's, you know, that rocked on. I had my son when I was 16. I had like, I had this vision of being the perfect mother.
Right.
You know, like at the time people were talking about if you stand in front of microwaves or whatever, it could cause damage to your child. So I wouldn't stand in front of a microwave. Yeah. So, but, you know, I was in high school and my mom and stepdad, you know, having abortion wasn't an option and adoption wasn't an option. So, you know, my mom and stepdad were like, if you will stay in school, and if you will act right, you know, of course you can live here, we'll financially support you, you know, all that. Everything sounded perfect. And then, you know, I would go to school, my mom would watch my son, and then on the weekends my stepdad, and then be like, you know what, you're a kid, go enjoy yourself. Now, I'm pretty sure when they meant enjoy yourself was go to the movies, go out to eat with your friends. It didn't mean go get high and act like you didn't have no good common sense. So, you know, the weekends turned in to during the week. And then it just kind of escalated. And it got out of hand before I even knew it got out of hand. It didn't bother me that my mom worked 11 to 7 and my stepdad was going to work every morning early, and that they're having to watch a small child. You know, I didn't care. I was just worried about what I wanted to do. I have an older brother. He was a hellion when he was younger, but, you know, he decided, you know what, I'm not going to act a fool anymore. I'm going to get married. I'm going to have kids. I'm going to have a good life. And he just stopped. He just was normal. And, but that didn't work out for me. I guess for one, I didn't want it to start with. My brother is very black and white. You either do right or you do wrong. There's no in-betweens. There's no pity parties for you, you know. That's just not how it was. So my brother got on my very last nerve, you know. And he was a protective brother too, so that didn't help me out any. He has 3 kids. I would like to say that I'm a part of my nieces and nephews' life, but I'm not, because my brother didn't put up with stuff like that. His kids will not be subject to that. I have a sister. She's 20. Oh my goodness, she's 21 or 20 years younger than me. I don't feel so bad now, but you know, she went to school. She done right. She didn't act crazy. You know, she had goals in life and she's achieved those.
Right.
But I was so jealous of that. Because that's what I wanted to do. But I didn't want to work hard for it. I wanted you to give that to me. And so, and then my dad and stepmom, they, you know, they weren't going to, my sister wasn't going to be, I guess, subjected, I guess is what I'm trying, you know, to stuff like that.
Right.
I remember being over there, I think it was her birthday party or something, and I passed out on the couch. And when I'm saying, like, not passed out because I was tired, passed out because I was high, and it scared her.
Right.
So there's always been, like, you know, my sister wanting to have a relationship with me, but then my jealousy just, you know, it was like, it was crazy. So I guess you would say I robbed my sister of having a relationship with me. Our relationship is not perfect, but we're working on it.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of respect for my sister, because she works hard.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, during my drug addiction, she stepped in and had to take care of my youngest daughter.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she's 19, 20 years old. She didn't have to do that,
Right.
But at the time, I was very ungrateful.
Mm-hmm.
How dare you be the mother role? I'm her mother, and and so that caused issues. I will say this: when my parents divorced when I was young, I cannot stress enough on how grateful and how fortunate I am to have a stepdad and a stepmother like that I have. I mean, they just, my stepdad, bless his heart, he's had to see this the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
My dad, I don't want to say he didn't have to see it, but I didn't want to go around him because I didn't want to hear him bitch and complain. I'm sorry, but I didn't mean to cussing. But he would always call me out on it, and I wasn't trying to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess he had to suffer from a distance, but my mom and stepdad had to see it every single day.
So, you were a drug addict,
Mm-hmm.
and you were 3 years clean now?
In October, I was 3 years clean.
Congratulations, because I know that was a hard road. What have you lost in your life by your drug addiction?
Well, I can't say, like, materialist, I haven't lost anything.
Right.
Because I've never worked any. Everything's been gave to me, so my family's lost stuff because,
Mm-hmm.
of my drug addiction. But, I lost, I lost my childhood, really.
Mm-hmm.
Not because I got pregnant, because I was battling demons at a young age already.
Mm-hmm.
And then, when people should be enjoying high school and stuff, I'm having to worry about where to get the next pain pill at.
Right.
And I lost the little bit of happiness I had. I lost it. I lost the person I wanted to be. This person that I hadn't envisioned on being, I lost.
So it robbed you of your hopes and your dreams.
Exactly.
Right. And now, I know that a lot of people who don't understand the cycle of addiction, they say, well, it's a personal choice. But tell me what goes through your mind and how much invasiveness and control that this substance has over you.
Okay, so yeah, I agree. It is a personal choice.
Mm-hmm.
I chose to make those decisions. However, I was not educated on this is what's going to happen if you do this.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have consequences.
Mm-hmm.
I would go to jail. They slap, let's just pay your fine and you're good to go. So I never knew what responsibility was, consequences,
Mm-hmm.
or any of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't educated.
Right.
Now they had don't drink and drive, but I mean, drinking and driving wasn't my problem. It was other things that nobody wants to talk about because it's scary.
Right.
My family never thought that their daughter would be a heroin addict.
Right.
I never thought that I would be a heroin addict.
Right, because that's not what
That's
you
not
saw.
that's not what I envisioned.
Right. Right.
And then, I had my oldest daughter, and I got married, and once again, I had this vision.
Mm-hmm.
Because my mom and stepdad ended up raising my son. I lived there, but I was on drugs.
Right.
So I was just in body form. So when I got married, okay, I'm not doing drugs anymore. I'm going to be a great mother. And I'm going to live happily ever after.
Mm-hmm.
It's not how it ended. My husband at the time was a drug addict. Once again, I didn't, at this time I was educated some because I'd been to rehab. However, I wanted somebody to fix me. I didn't want to fix myself. First of all, I didn't even want to look at the issues that I had myself.
Right.
You know, I had body image. You know, I have shame and guilt of not being a mother to my son.
Mm-hmm.
My mom and stepdad's raising him. You know, my marriage failed. My ex-in-laws ended up with my oldest daughter when she was 3. You know, I had all intentions on getting her back.
Right.
She's 17. She still don't live with me.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm grateful for her grandparents for raising her.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I'm just grateful for my whole family because they've all stepped in and done what obviously I wasn't doing. You know, and just when I lost custody of her, you know, I was already shooting dope, but it wasn't socially accepted, so I didn't do it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But boy, when it hit the fan that everybody was really doing it, I wasn't trying to keep it a secret anymore.
Right.
I just wasn't. For some reason, I wanted to punish my family for my bad choices.
Mm-hmm.
You know, why couldn't you just fix me? You know, I'm your daughter. Why am I like this? Somebody please tell me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're like this because, you know, you continue to make wrong decisions.
Right.
You know, and first you're not even trying to change.
Mm-hmm.
I've changed because the court told me to, but after that, you know, they cut me loose. I was back at it again.
Mm-hmm.
I got on meth. Of course, I was on opioids too. And it just went like a downward spiral. Like looking back at it now, I can see where it went from here to straight to shit in like no time.
Right.
But at the time, I would always think, well, if I'm not doing this, then I'm fine. You know, I'm not homeless, so I'm doing fine. Yes, you was homeless because you wasn't paying no bills at your mama's house.
Right.
You know, but that's how I looked at it. I have a nice car because my stepdad and my mom paid for it, not because I had a job or anything. You know, I've had several friends and cousins to die from drugs. And not one time did I ever stop to think, hey, you need to do something about that. Or you're not going to make it. And I'd be like, well, they don't know what they're doing because I'm a professional.
Right.
I mean, that's why they didn't know what they was doing. I know my limits. But it got to a point where
You didn't even hear about that.
Yeah, limits were limits. I had my third child, which is my youngest daughter. Bless her heart. She's been through it all. I mean, my other 2 kids, like my oldest daughter, she lived with other grandparents. So she didn't see. She just knows what people told her.
Right.
You know, my son didn't see it because, I mean, he did, but he didn't. And my youngest daughter, she's seen it all. And I robbed that child of her I robbed them all of their childhood.
With you.
Yeah. I mean, who wants to say, why aren't your mom at any of your events? Oh, because she's out shooting heroin. Or she's doing this, you know? And it's sad. I'm sad for them. But on the other hand, my kids are educated.
Right.
I hate that they're educated the way they are.
Right.
It's just reality.
Right.
That's just how it is. Once again, I was going to, my third daughter, well, I had no intentions on getting married because me and her dad we had issues of our own. But I was going to be the best mother ever.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't going to do drugs no more. So, went to rehab. Everything's going to be perfect, right? I'm just going to, all these problems that I got going on, they're going to go away. No, they don't go away.
No.
Sometimes, not sometimes, I feel like once you get clean, that those internal problems you got inside sometimes are far worse than drugs, because this is stuff that even when you get clean you have to deal with, that you don't want to deal with.
Right.
I didn't want to deal with that. I was a crappy mother, a terrible daughter, a terrible sister, a terrible aunt. I didn't want to deal with all that.
Right.
So,
which is why you took drugs to begin with, so you could forget how crap you were.
right, or
Right.
feel better about myself.
Right.
And
Right.
so it's been a crazy time. I remember the first time I done a shot of dope, somebody said, "Welcome to the family." I thought, oh hell no, these people are crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not their family. But I didn't realize that they was talking about a whole different kind of family.
Right.
Because when you have family, there's certain family you just can't get rid of your family.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you're on the needle and you're whatever you're shooting,
Mm-hmm.
it's like a family. It's hard to break away.
Right.
Especially when it has a hold on you.
Mm-hmm.
And it had a hold on me like nothing ever.
How many times did it take for you using the needle for you to get addicted?
It took me twice.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I know a lot of people who go down that road say that, well, it's just this one time, or, I won't have a problem. It won't happen to me. And I'm sure that you felt the same way at the time.
I did.
But what's the reality of that?
The reality is, you can only say it's going to take, and you know what, it may take somebody 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
But you keep on, and you're going to be addicted, and you're not going to realize it, because I didn't realize it.
Right.
I didn't realize I had an opiate problem until I couldn't get any.
Right.
I didn't, you don't realize you have a problem until you run out of whatever and you're sick.
Right.
I overdosed 13 times. It's a lot.
Yes. You're lucky to be here.
And a lot of those were before my son passed away. I was already doing heroin.
Mm-hmm.
But my son being the age that he was, and him just being so overprotective, and at the time I thought he was always being nosy,
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't get to where I really wanted to be,
Mm-hmm.
because I was always afraid of him seeing me, or better yet, him telling on me.
Mm-hmm.
And because, after, the second rehab, they were like, Mama stepped up, look, this is not acceptable. You better get your shit together. But I knew if they ever found out that, because it's like I could make excuses for opiates.
Mm-hmm.
The doctor gave them to me. It's not a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what am I going to say about heroin? The doctor ain't write me a prescription of heroin.
No.
So I knew when they found out about that, that would be the end. It would be the end of the road for this one.
Right.
So I remember after he passed away, I think it might have been 2 or 3 weeks. I don't know. Everything runs together. I overdosed.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember every time I would do a shot of dope, I would think, please let this be the last shot. I can't live like this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I was praying I couldn't live like this. I didn't have to live like that because I could go get help if it was offered,
Right.
but I just didn't want to.
Right.
My grandmother always made sure I went to church. But it's like when my son's accident happened, I remember praying for him. Praying, God, I'm a heroin addict, a junkie, I'm worthless. Please just take me.
Mm-hmm.
Please, he's just a kid.
Right.
And that's not how it worked out.
Right. You lost your child.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this. What was the final straw? What gave you the strength that you needed and the incentive you needed to clean up your act?
I remember going in my son's room and talking to him for the final time. They took him off life support. And me and my son always thought about me being on heroin. Always. And I'll say this, before he moved to Florida, it's poor pitiful Lavonda, why are you leaving me? Because, I'm this great mother,
Mm-hmm.
so why would, it was just, my thinking was so crazy. And I asked him, I said, why are you moving to Florida for? And I remember him looking at me, he said, because when you die, maybe it won't be so hard on me. And I remember being mad,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. How are you just going to leave your mother? Because, I've been this great mother, to him his whole life, why wouldn't he want to leave? Why wouldn't he want a better life?
Right.
And I was so selfish that I guess I just wanted him to be here with me, to watch me slowly kill myself. So after that, I remember my stepdad telling me, you're going to sink or swim. You're not going to do it in my house.
Mm-hmm.
Don't call me until you're in a detox that you pay for. You're going to sign your custody rights over to Anna, that's my youngest daughter,
Mm-hmm.
because that kid deserves stability.
Mm-hmm.
And she does not deserve to see what she is seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And don't ever call me again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if you sleep under a bridge. I don't care if you eat. If you're hungry, call them junkie friends that you're getting high with.
Mm-hmm.
Don't call me. And my stepdad's always been like, you can't do this, get out of my house. And I'd always call, please just let me come back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But I remember that day when he looked at me and he said that. I knew he was serious.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember going down there, my stepmom had these papers drawn up for me to sign over. It was just temporary custody.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to.
Right.
I wanted him to take care of her, of course.
Of course.
But it was like her and her sister Lisa were all I had.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't being a mother. I loved him with everything in me. My actions were showing different.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you all day, I love you. But if I'm not showing up to your event, or can't tuck you into bed at night, or make time to talk to you when you're having a problem,
Yeah.
it's not a mother.
No.
So I done that. And so then, basically, I was officially relieved of, I guess, being a mother. I guess that's what you call it. So I started shooting dope anytime I cared. I didn't care if I overdosed.
Mm-hmm.
It was getting to the point where I'd overdose twice in one day, and that was okay with me.
Mm-hmm.
If I didn't wake up, that'd have been even better.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I was being punished. I thought God punished me by taking my son for being a drug addict. And I know now that's not the case. But, you know, it took my whole, you know, not having anything, because my ass sure wasn't going to get a job.
Right.
I mean, who wants to get a job? I got to get high. You know? And that's how I saw it. And I remember a friend of mine, her name's Joanne, my angel. She came and got me at a trap house, and she said, "You gonna come home with me?" And a Christian lady, once again, here's these people praying for me, and I deal with nobody pray for me. Please, I don't talk about God, don't pray for me, anything, just keep that to yourself. And she said, and you're gonna, we had this plan, or she had this plan. And I stayed with her, and, you know, and one rule was, you can't get high, and you can't shoot up in my house. Well, you know, me being the disrespectful person I am, I'd done that. And she found out, and she said, "I love you, but we're going to get you some help." So, okay, so, you know, so I'm broke. My family ain't going to give me nothing. They don't even want to accept a phone call from me. So, me being the person that I am, I'm going to call Bradford. Because I knew, in my head, I thought, well, first of all, you gotta have money to go to Bradford, you gotta have insurance, and I ain't got neither. But I want to show effort that I'm trying to get help.
Right.
So Bradford kept calling and calling and calling. And I remember the lady telling me, I was like, well, I gotta do this. She said, baby, Bradford's open 24 hours a day. And I was thinking, of course you are. But I went down there, and the lady was talking to me. I said, look, I have no money. My family's not going to help. I said, if they had a penny, they ain't going to give it to me. And she's like, well, what's the past year of your life been like? I said, I said, my son's passed away. Can't see my kids. I'm a heroin junkie. I want to die. I'm homeless. What else more? I mean, well, I mean, I'm just a worthless person. Had all these things. They had not one positive thing I could say about myself. So she said, well, give me a minute and we'll get you somewhere. So I'm thinking, okay, great. So she comes back and she said, oh, we found you a place. And I was like, of course you did. So I was like, look, she said, well, Bradford's going to let you detox here. I said, look, I do not have any money. Like, I don't know how many times I got to tell you this. I do not have any money. My family's not going to, I have nothing. And she said, Bradford's going to let you detox for free. And I was thinking, of course you are. Of course you are. But I had said before that if I ever got a chance to detox, I wouldn't go back to that life. And, you know, of course, when I was saying my goodbyes to my son, I told him, I said, I'm not going to be like this forever. I'm just not. You know, it's a little late now. I mean, why didn't I do this when he was alive? Why does it take a tragedy for me to even want to change? So, checked in. The lady said, we'll call you when there's a bed available. Go home and pack your stuff. And I was like, great. So, I didn't even get out of the parking lot. And this lady called. She said, well, go get your stuff and hurry back. And I was like, she sure ain't leaving me no time to go get high. One last time. Because, you know, it's always that one last time.
Yeah.
One last time, because I'm never going to do it again. Well, it was so weird because it seemed like everybody that I knew that sold heroin was out that day. Of course I was. So I checked into Bradford. I cut all ties with the people that I got high with. And And some of them people that I love dearly.
Mm-hmm.
But two addicts can't save each other.
No.
It's just impossible. I've tried. So when I checked into Bradford on October 25th, I knew that my son's anniversary would be coming up.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to get high.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm out on the street and I'm sober and all these memories of, did he know I loved him?
The pain,
the pain
guilt.
and the guilt.
Mm-hmm.
My kids hate me. Poor pitiful Lavonda. I would have probably got high.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to this one place in Huntsville. It did not work out.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, my dad took me up there. And when I tell you, he helped me get my bags out of the car, and I didn't even get a chance to wave by because he done sped away. I mean, I was like, good Lord.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't work out up there.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew I did not want to get high.
Mm-hmm.
There was a part of me that was like, just go get high. You end up getting high anyway. So I called my best friend that was in recovery.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you gotta come get me before I get high. She's like, okay, I'm gonna get my sponsor. I was like, of course you are. Because see, with her, she brought her sponsor, there was no way I could manipulate her.
Right.
And she already knew that.
Mm-hmm.
So they was calling around places, and this other girl that I knew back in high school, that she was in recovery, she's calling places. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even get along with her in high school. But she wanted to help me. Why would you want to help somebody that you didn't even like in high school? Because that's what people do.
Right.
That's been there. So they called and told me they found, at first I was like, 30 days is the limit, not, no more. Then it's 60 days. 90 days, that's it. Don't ask me. No, I'm not doing it. Then it was 6 months. 9 months, don't want to talk about it. If it's over 9 months, I don't want to talk about it. And it was on a Sunday, and they said, there's this place in Coleman called RWO. I said, y'all not about to send me to no military bullshit. No. And they said no, it was called Restoring Women Outreach. And I talked to a lady, and it was a Sunday. Mm-hmm. People don't do intakes on Sunday, so I thought I had that little bitty window of going home with my best friend and manipulating her on letting me stay with her. Mm-hmm. Well, the lady's like, can you pass a drug test? I was like, yeah. She's like, well, come on. And I was like, on a Sunday? She said, I've never done an intake on a Sunday, but for some reason I want to do yours. Get up there. She said, now it's a 12 to 18 month program. I'm like, so my head's saying, no. But my mouth said, okay, I'll do whatever I got to do. Mm-hmm. And still to this day, I'm like, I don't know how that kind of happened. But I got up there, and like for somebody that's always done what I wanted, when I wanted, how I wanted, didn't care about consequences, never had responsibility, whatever. I needed structure. Mm-hmm. And sweet, they gave you some structure up there. You had to be up at a certain time. You had to follow rules. If you didn't comply to those rules, there was consequences. Mm-hmm. Now, we had a thing that they made us do, like if you left your stuff laying out, you had to write 150 sentences. Working definition, humility is the ability to follow directions. Well, I can tell you, I wrote that many a time. I think I had my own folder for that. Mm-hmm. But that's what I needed, because I'd never been responsible for anything. Right. Got up there, there was this one girl, she got on my very last nerve because even though she was an addict, she always wanted to do the next right thing, follow the rules. I got on my nerves. I didn't want to do that, and I just didn't like her. And so she ended up being my roommate. Every time we turned around, we was roommates. But she's one of my very best friends now. Mm-hmm. I mean, when you think of integrity or being kind, that's the person. Mm-hmm. I met another lady up there, because I have I got 3 best friends, and each one of them has something different.
Mm-hmm.
My best friend Carrie, she tells me like it is, and she'll hang up on me or whatever, because we've been friends for years. Then my friend Lori, you know, she'll be like, bless your heart, baby, I love you, bye.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got my best friend Tabitha, that's just like, no, you know, that's not, you know, you wanting to go slap somebody, that's not really a nice thing to do, or, you know, whatever. And I'm like, shut up, do you not ever get mad at anybody? But they all have something.
Right. That you need
that
to
I
hear.
need.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to talk to them all the time.
Right.
And so I ended up graduating that place.
Mm-hmm.
Never thought I was going to do that, because for the longest I didn't unpack all my stuff, because you know what? Because I wasn't staying there.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to leave. And I tell you, even before I graduated, I'm not staying here no more. I ain't dealing with these rules. And then after I graduated, I still stayed another year.
Wow.
But I didn't want to, I hated this place. I wasn't going to stay there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's what I needed.
Right.
And it gave me a chance to meet people that I needed to meet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I never was into, like, for myself, I need meetings.
Mm-hmm.
I just do. You know, that helps me see somebody that, you know, like, especially somebody that just came off, the, you know, has not even had 24 hours recovery. I need to see that. But I also need to see somebody that's got 15 years to let me know, hey, this is possible.
Yeah.
And then for them to see me and be like, look, I sure don't want to be that train wreck right there. You know,
Right.
So that's what I need to do. And, you know, and when I was 6 months in my recovery, I found out that I had cirrhosis.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when the doctor tells me this, I'm like, because I don't drink.
Right.
And the doctor informed me, well, you know, all these overdoses and this and that will take a toll on your liver.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just telling me, he's like, you need to be on the transplant list. I had no money. What was I going to do? And I struggled with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say, now I no longer have to be on the transplant list.
That's great.
You know, it's because I continue to do the things I need to do, like, one, not get high,
Mm-hmm.
And other things.
Mm-hmm.
I even fell at work and shattered my elbow.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about, you know, I was scared of the pain because it hurt. But I tell you what, when you got a doctor coming at you saying, we'll give you a morphine shot, a Dilaudid shot, all this, the stuff that used to just control, that would light up your heart,
Right.
scared the shit out of me.
Right.
Scared me.
Because you did not want to go back to where you have been.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And that's a great fear.
Yeah. And so I made it out of there. I made it out of that. And my biggest fear was, what if I start shooting heroin again?
Mm-hmm.
And that's not the case at all. Because I continue to do the things that I have been doing that has kept me sober.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't, my doctor explained to me there's a difference in shooting morphine to get high and getting morphine because
You need it.
yeah, because you're having emergency surgery. So, you know, it's a lot of things that's happened in my recovery that could have possibly made me say, you know what, screw all this. I can't do it.
Right.
But I didn't. And I tell you what, recovery is not easy.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not just about staying off drugs. It's about having to deal with the demons
Mm-hmm.
that you have buried for so long.
Right.
And it's just, I don't know.
Well, I would think that, you have to address the cause of why you decided to go down that path in the first place.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And the cause was me.
Mm-hmm.
And I always wanted to blame everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everybody was the problem. It was never me because I'm the victim. But now I know that I wasn't the victim. I was the cause of everybody else's problem.
Mm-hmm.
And but I mean, it's not okay, but it is okay.
Right.
To know that I was the cause of things, not everybody else.
Right. So some person who is trapped in the cycle of addiction, what would you tell them, to make them aware, to give them hope?
In the beginning, it seems like you're never going to get out of that hell. Mm-hmm. You're just not. But if you can just have a mind, just the smallest amount of hope, and just grab onto that and hold on to it for dear life, and just be a little bit open-minded and just a tiny bit of willingness, it'll eventually grow.
Right.
And to know that things will get better. Mm-hmm. You don't always have to live like I always thought being on drugs was but that's how I was going to die. Right. But that's not the case. Mm-hmm. I mean, I would have never thought I'd be coming up on 3 years. Mm-hmm. 3 years. And to have been through some of the things that I've been through. Mm-hmm. I'm going to continue to say it is not easy, because some days it's hard. But it's like the peace that you finally get and the happiness that you get that you thought that you had when you was getting high is so different. Right. So different. I mean, it's like, I don't even know how to explain it. Mm-hmm. I live at my mom and stepdad's again, and these are the two people that anytime that I would come to their house, the police were surely behind me telling me to leave. Right. Couldn't see my kids, couldn't see my granddaughter, and it was because, it's not because they wouldn't let me, it was because the choices I made it to where I couldn't see them. Right. And it's just like, and I've been in these abusive relationships. I've been the abuser, they have, and I never thought that I was ever worthy of having anybody. Mm-hmm. But I'm seeing somebody now that's supportive of my recovery. Mm-hmm. That that if I'm having a bad day, be like, okay, well, don't be a crybaby. Mm-hmm. People, mm-hmm. And you always have to surround yourself with people who are going to speak life into you, right. Not drain life out of you. Right. Right. And I think that it's easy. For me, it just takes one word for somebody to say one negative word, and then I've got about 1,500 negative words that I can say to myself. Right. And I'm trapped again. Mm-hmm. Right. Now, let me ask you this. What would you say to those parents who has a child that is in the cycle of addiction, that is going down that road and making those choices? What would you say to those people? Do not be in denial on what's going on. Right. It's so easy to say, well, if you quit hanging out with that person right there, you wouldn't be doing this. Mm-hmm. Because that's how my family has seen people. But you know what? There's people who've been good that I made go bad, I guess that's what you would say. Mm-hmm. And I used to, I would always be like, I'm going to die if I don't get that $25. You don't understand how sick I am. I'm going to die. No, I wasn't going to die, but I tell you what, that little bit of money that you can give your kid might be less. And that's what my stepdad told me. He said, you will not take the money that I earn, that I go to work and earn, to support your habit, to kill yourself. you find another way to do it. And that's what I was doing. They would go to work, and I would just, what they wouldn't give, and I was taking.
Right.
You know, that's not, it's just crazy. And, you know, and yeah, of course, you feel like you're dying because in withdrawals there's something serious. But you're not going to. What you're going to die of is continue to stay in that same cycle and to think, not my kid.
Right.
You know, or, you know, I've had a friend that was in recovery, so I'm just going to get out one more time. They're not here anymore.
Right.
It's I'm going to try it one more time, or this is going to be my last time. There's no do-overs. There's just not. And I think people get confused on that. Or, I'm not shooting heroin, I'm just going to snort it. Still, you don't know where you're getting.
Right.
Or, you know, I used to say, well, I know my dealer. Well, I may know my dealer, but I don't know who, you know.
Where he got
it
from.
And I think a lot of people are kind of confused on that. You know, you never know where something's coming from.
Right.
And you never know what kind of habit they have. Or, you know, what kind of demon they're fighting. You know, you just don't know. So the best thing to do is just don't try it.
Right.
And for families not to educate your kids before somebody else does.
Right. Right.
Because I would much rather say, I've educated my kids on this, than say somebody else educated them and they're not here anymore and life's not fair.
Right.
Because I can promise you there's probably tons of families that think that.
Right.
So, I mean,
what do you think needs to happen in society as a whole so people don't go down this road, the cycle of addiction and the pain that it causes everyone involved? What do you think we can do as a society to address this problem?
educate. And you know what, like for myself, I never had any consequences. You know, you had to have consequences.
Right.
You know, and I didn't have that. And I dang sure didn't take responsibility for anything. And I just, you know, like, and you know, and I'll say this, I used to hate these documentaries because I will never forget. One day I came home, and I was high, and I was walking through the living room, and my stepdad was watching some documentary on heroin and the warning signs, and I'm just like, and it's on this big screen TV, and I'm like, damn documentaries. And he looks over at me, and all I can do is drop my head and walk to my bedroom and hurry up and try to get out of the house. But knowing, you know, you don't have to read a book on this crap. You can watch a documentary, and I tell you what, that documentary would teach you more than reading some little pamphlet of the warning signs. They're just a bad teenager. Hell, all teenagers are bad, or at least I was. You know, just don't be blind.
Right.
Don't be blind to the fact, oh, this ain't gonna happen to my kid. Because it will.
Right. Because a lot of times denial is, and not thinking about it and not educating people is what starts people down the road to make bad choices.
Yeah. You know, like I said, when I was growing up, you never heard of heroin.
Right.
I mean, like you did in New York, but not around here.
Right.
So people need to get their head out of the sand, because this is a big issue. It's a problem.
Yeah.
And it is affecting everybody. And it may not just affect your kid, because it's going to affect the whole family. Because if you had that one daughter that's doing it and she's got a younger sister, 9 times out of 10, that one right there is fixing to fall right behind.
Right.
And it's just, and don't be scared to talk to your kids about it.
Mm-hmm.
Of course they're gonna be mad. I mean, because every teenager or whatever, they know it all anyway.
Right.
So why? I already know they teach us that at school. You know what? The school will teach you some things, but they're not going to teach you the rawness of it all.
No.
No,
they don't. They sugarcoat it.
Right.
To make it palatable.
Exactly.
Let me ask you this. You talk about education. What do you think that we as a society need to do a better job? How do you think we need to educate people in order to make people aware so that, they recognize that their child is having some problems, or they recognize that, their child's friend is having a problem? What can we do to educate ourselves to be more aware?
I think as far as schools, instead of popping in a DVD or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
you need to bring somebody in there that's lost their kid.
Mm-hmm. Right. Or someone who is struggling through the problem and has been recovered, that can tell of that absolute ghastly nightmare that existence requires.
Because it's easier, well, not easier, but you pay more attention when you hear somebody.
Right.
Because when I was in school and they put in a tape or whatever, I was going to sleep.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And, drugs are bad.
Right.
You need to, so here's a picture of somebody that was, at one time their life was good,
Mm-hmm.
and now look.
Right.
They weigh 95 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
They have no life.
Yeah, it's being robbed from them.
Yeah.
And the thing of it is, I think that I know that I, as a person, and I remember back when I was a child, if you see someone who is in front of your face and they're telling you a story and they're telling you about heartache and nastiness and pain and misery and defeat,
Mm-hmm.
it makes more of an impression
Right.
than popping in that videotape, because you can't ignore somebody's pain that's right in front of you. You can't. And there are so many people in our communities that are suffering.
Mm-hmm.
There's children, there's the parents of the children, there's whole groups of people in the community that are absolutely in pain and misery, who need to get that out. And we need to educate the children that are in school, the captive audience, as to why we don't need to be doing this.
Right. And it kills me when I hear somebody say, "Oh, I wish there was something we could have done." You could have done something.
Right.
You could have got your ass out of denial
Mm-hmm.
and addressed the situation,
Mm-hmm.
and not be worried about what somebody else is going to think.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That just kills me.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember my first in heroin walk I went to. Well, my best friend Carrie had went to the one the year before that, when I was still in active addiction. And she tried to get me to go. "Oh, I'll go. But I was like, "I'm not going to that. I don't want to see all that. I'm going to stay home and get out." So she ended up wearing this little lantern that said, "I'm walking for my friend Lavonda." And she posted it on Facebook, and I was so mad. I was like, how dare her just out me like that on Facebook, like everybody don't already know.
Right.
But I would always tell my dad and them, you're not around. You don't know what I'm going through, or it's not affecting you. I don't see you.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember my first in heroin walk, seeing all them families,
Mm-hmm.
crying,
Mm-hmm.
friends that are gone, these banners, all these people gone.
Yeah.
And that was the first time that I ever, and I think I almost had a year sober, that I ever stopped to think, damn, my mom, my dad, my sister, my brother, everybody, stepdad, at those sleepless nights they probably had.
Yeah. That call that they were waiting on.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You know, and it's just, I just can't say it enough. You gotta get your head out of the sand because it's an epidemic. It's probably, you know, and it's like, and I understand the coronavirus is serious. I understand that, but I tell you what, if you was, and I'm probably pissing people off, but it's okay. If you was taking half the time trying to figure out how to help these other people that are suffering instead of judging them, you know, we might see better results.
Right. And a lot of times helping someone isn't a pat on the back or a hug.
No.
Sometimes it's a kick in the britches.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's making some hard, terrible decisions to get that person some help.
Yeah.
It's because it's not pretty.
Mm-mm.
It's not pretty.
No.
And nothing involved with it is pretty.
Right.
And, you know, but there are resources.
Right.
And can you tell people about the resources that you got for help?
Well, you know, I was fortunate for Bradford to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But like now there's tons of, well, there's a lot more places that are willing to help.
Right.
Like the place that I went to, I didn't have $800.
Mm-hmm.
However, when I got my job, I was able to pay that.
Right.
But you just can't say, oh, I need a place to come, you know, because a lot of them places will probably help you if you're like, look, I'm desperate.
Right.
You know, you know, this is my last resort.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, anybody can say, I need to come to rehab because I'm going to go to jail.
Right.
I've been one of those.
Right.
So, you know.
Yeah.
But also, if you don't want to be there, don't come. Because there's somebody out there suffering that's dying to get there.
Right.
And they can't. Because you're holding up a spot.
Right.
Because you don't want to sit in jail.
Right.
Or you want to make mom and daddy happy.
Right. Or your wife, or
right,
fill
or whatever.
in the blank. Right, fill in the blank. Is there anything in closing that you want to say that you think needs to be said to people?
You know, don't give up. Don't give up. I mean, it does get better, but it's hard. It's scary. It is scary. The unknown is scary.
Yeah.
You know, change is scary. You know, you get comfortable in doing the same thing because, like with me, I knew my everyday schedule. I knew what I was going to be doing. But when I got clean, I didn't know. Was I going to fail? Was I going to succeed? What was going to happen to me? Was I going to do all this and still be the same person and end up getting high again? You know, that's scary. You know, and just be like, and even if the court system does send you, be open-minded. And, you know, but just be open-minded. Be willing to, you know, if the court system sends you there for a year, you might as well make the best of it because you're going to be there a year.
Right.
Because I've seen people that's been court-ordered to a year and they're still sober. And they dang sure didn't want to be there, you know? So it's just like, you know, I don't know. People's got to be more involved. Be involved.
Yeah.
Families need to be involved. It should be, you know, I understand that families work or whatever. Of course they have to. But you know what? At some point in time, you're going to see your kid or whoever for 5 or 10 minutes. Talk to them. And you know what? And don't be scared to ask for help. I mean, because what's the worst they're going to do? I mean, all right, your ass is going to rehab. You know, don't be afraid to ask for help. Because I promise you there's going to be somebody that's going to help you. There's going to be somebody that wants to give you a chance, because everybody is sick of seeing lives lost, because it gets getting younger and younger and younger.
Right. Because currently this country is an epidemic. We've lost almost a whole generation of people that will never, go to college or get married or have babies or do anything because they're dead.
Right.
And that's why in education and telling people stories and getting this information out there is so critical, because we're losing our future.
Right.
And so I appreciate you coming in today, Lavonda. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I know that you have had a tough road that you have had to hoe, but thank you for telling your story, and I hope every day it gets easier and easier for you.
It does too.
And I wish you the best of happiness and health and amazing life for yourself in the future.
Thanks, and I just hope, if it's just one person, that's all I need. All you need is just that, a little bit. I mean, you gotta have a monument size of hope, just a little bit.
Yes, and if we can just help one person, then maybe that one person can help another person. And we've done our part, to help each other.
Right.
So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks. Everybody, I hope that you will listen to Lavonda and her story, and the previous interview that we did with Miss Angie Cheshire, and realize that we're losing people that we don't need to lose. Please educate yourself and be aware and help people who need help. These are our mothers, these are our daughters, these are our friends, our family, and our neighbors. No one's life is not important enough to not try to save. So I'm going to post some numbers and some resources after this interview. If you need help, there's going to be someone that can help you. Do not give up hope. Until next time, over and out.